Land-grabbing participants can be tried for crimes against humanity. Tourism industry in need of major funding boost. Governor-General's office launches first corporate plan.
This is NBC Papua New Guinea National News.
Good evening, I'm Antonia Singut. A prosecutor at the International Criminal Court, ICC, has announced that people involved in land grabbing and environmental destruction could be tried for crimes against humanity. And Papua New Guinea's think tank, the National Research Institute, has welcomed the announcement. The institute has long been advocating for safeguarding the interests of landowners. The ICC's prosecutor's announcement implies that all people, government ministers, departmental heads and company directors as well as executives involved in land grabbing in PNG could one day be charged for crimes against humanity. The ICC is an international court established to complement the activities of national courts of various countries. It has the power to prosecute people for genocide, crimes against humanity and war crimes. The country's tourism industry is in need of a major funding boost to reach its full potential. The government commits about 1% of the national budget to tourism. However, this level of funding assistance is insufficient to boost the industry's growth. This was the indication given by the Tourism, Arts and Culture Minister Tobias Kulang when addressing the National Tourism Conference in Port Moresby today. The aim of this one-day conference is to allow the industry's stakeholders to share ideas, issues and challenges experienced. Sheila Malkin reports.
A country with diverse cultures, 800 different languages, traditions, the fauna and flora, however, many still remains undeveloped and unexplored. This is due to the geographical location and the lack of funding from the government over the years.
1% commitment by the national government into this sector. Completely ludicrous and unthinkable. No wonder some seats are empty today.
Minister Kulang also highlighted the high cost of traveling, in which Papua New Guinea has been classified as an expensive destination. It has been recorded last year on a global scale that tourism is a development enabler. The Tourism Promotion Authority, the body responsible for tourism development, is now focused on improving that.
This is a very important industry. It's cross-cutting that can employ the masses of 85% of the people who are stuck out there. There is room for people who are technically qualified, to the moms and dads who can tender the garden and sell produce to the tourists that will enter this country. We need the volume in this country. We need innovative. We need the industry players to not to be greedy, come down and generate a volume for the future. Okay? And the government needs to come onto the table and, stop taking the free ride at the back of the windfall gains of oil and gas and gold and copper forever. Must make the concerted effort to generate growth in the sustainable industry like tourism and agriculture.
The aim of this one-day conference is for the industry with its stakeholders, members, international speakers and presenters, and overseas marketing representatives to share ideas, issues and challenges faced in the industry. TPA Chief Executive Officer Jerry Agus says this will enable them to come up with strategies to address their challenges.
When we have such meetings, we share ideas. The international speakers talk about the international trends of tourism, the arrival figures, where all the tourists coming out in terms of our source markets and all that. So they will share it to our industry members. And then our local Papua New Guinean industry members will share some of the issues and challenges they are facing at the domestic front in terms of they are not getting the tourists, they are trying to market their products, but internet is an issue.
Sheila Malkin, NBC National News, Port Moresby.
Meanwhile, the chief executive of the Tourism Promotion Authority said most of the country's tourism products and services are located in areas where there is no proper infrastructure in place. And this is also a major hindrance to the overall development of the tourism industry. Jerry Angus was also speaking at the National Tourism Conference in Port Moresby today. Again, Sheila Malkin reports.
Law and order, infrastructure and facilities, and high cost of travel are the major issues which hinder the development of the tourism industry. Mr. August says this cannot be controlled by TPA but can only be achieved through a collaborative effort of responsible authorities.
All the industry members, players, both the airlines, the accommodation providers need to come together and come up with a way where we can reduce costs so that we can make money from volumes. And to some extent, probably government need to come and subsidize some cost where possible and appropriate. But otherwise, the industry need to work together as a team. We don't need to operate in isolation. We need to work as a team in order to grow this industry, because the success of tourism, as I said earlier, doesn't depend on how Tourism Promotion Authority perform. It depends on all other sectors. The transport sector, the law and order sector, the marine infrastructures, the law and order, and so many other things that comes together to make tourism tick.
PNG is a desired tourism hub for many due to the cultural diversity, different languages, traditions, and the list goes on. However, these major issues and challenges can also be achieved through the leadership at the provincial level.
For provinces like East New Britain, you can see that their leaders are truly committed to tourism. They genuinely engage in tourism activities, so that's why you can see that a lot of tourism activities are taking place. In some of the provinces, the provincial government does not have any idea about what tourism is all about. The provincial leadership is not there when it comes to allocating funding to tourism. They give almost some insignificant amount, very small amount. So, what can you do with those little amounts? You can't do anything. And then, most of these conferences and forums, we have people talking about the potential of tourism this country has, but we've been talking about potential for the last 30 or 40 years. It's about time we translate those potentials into something.
In order for TPA to market and promote the country as a tourism destination, all stakeholders, including government agencies, need to embrace tourism and what it can do in the country. Meanwhile, a check of 10,000 kina was presented to TPA by the Managing Director of the Investment Promotion Authority today. The funding will be used to help stage the Looking PNG Now Expo, which IPA is one of the sponsors. The event will start this Sunday and runs until the 27th of this month. Sheila Malkin, NBC National News, Port Moresby.
The Office of the Governor-General now has a 5-year corporate plan. The first ever plan was launched by the Governor-General, Sir Michael Ogio, today. The plan highlights the important constitutional, ceremonial and official roles of the Governor-General's office. Jacqueline Yala reports.
Since its establishment, the Office of the Governor-General has not come up with a corporate plan. But it's not too late for the office representing the Queen in PNG to have one. The first ever 2016 to 2020 corporate plan was launched by the Governor-General today at the Government House.
It now gives me great pleasure as Governor-General to officially declare the Office of the Governor-General Corporate Plan 2016 to 2020 launch. Thank you.
The recent political events in the country, like the 2011 political impasse, has challenged the reform of the Governor-General's office. Thus, the Parliamentary Committee on Constitutional Law Reform Commission reviewed the functions of the Office of the Governor-General.
In the forward of the Government House Corporate Plan, I stated the office of the Governor General to bring about a clear demarcation of the roles and responsibilities of Office of the Governor General.
The corporate plan will also cater for the refurbishment of the government house, including state residence and staff accommodation. The corporate plan is in line with the government policy.
And in the corporate plan, you can see that there's a lot of information that's been provided. And these information are very vital, especially the development of this institution and how the Office of the Government House will function, and how the Office of the Government House staff members will provide, or otherwise they perform their constitutional obligation.
It was a time to celebrate the great milestone achievement. Jacqueline Yala, NBC National News, Port Moresby.
The return of 8 officers from the Papua New Guinea Defence Force will boost the manpower of the aircraft maintenance engineering team on the ground. The officers underwent an 18-month training in Australia and were welcomed back today in Port Moresby. The training is part of the Defence Corporation program, which ceased in 1994 but was revived recently. The 8 officers formed the first batch after 22 years. Esther Bralinwani reports.
It's back to work today for the 8 trainees who filled in their return of service obligation form after the handover ceremony. The 8 officers have completed the theory phase of the training in Avis Skills Training Institution in Australia. They will be undergoing the work assessment phase in the coming years. It was a very intensive training, but they managed to complete it.
That our pass rates were very high, from about 90% as collective to 95% pass rate. So everybody passed with flying colors.
The trainees were challenged to put the training into good use for the development of the PNGDF.
Your responsibility, and it's up to you to put an effort here. Down there, you are in a civilian school. You are back here in a military organization. You are soldiers first before artisans.
The 8 officers successfully completed their studies, performing outstandingly, hence demonstrated a good image of PNG. Esther Bralinwani, NBC National News, Port Moresby.
We now look at the weather preview with James.
Thank you, Antonia. Your weather in brief: some centres will have fine weather, whilst others will experience light thundery showers. Join me later in the bulletin for all your weather details. Back to you, Antonia.
Thank you, James. Coming up after the break, Australia and PNG praised for maintaining a rugby league partnership, and Hagenopin MP makes commitment to upgrade Baisu Road. Stay with us on NBC National News.